In this video, we're going to talk about the number 8. So this is going to be a very relevant video for those who are born on the 8th, who are born in August, or who are born in a year that adds to an 8. Or you may also have hidden 8s in your birth chart, and for that you can leave a comment below and set up a consultation or analysis with me. We can look at the different numbers in your chart and how they work together. Because remembering, even if you're born on the 8th, you have different numbers, so it depends on what's aspecting and influencing this 8 or what's around it. So let's talk about the number 8. So number 8, we're going to be using Chaldean numerology to break this number down. Number 8 is associated with a few things. Money, people call it money. People call the number 8 as karma. What goes around comes around, the sign of infinity and time and all these different things. So let's talk about it. So why 8 is associated with money? Because in this world, money is power. So money is definitely part of it. Now, 8, the wound of 8 that is trying to compensate for, so a very young 8, is a feeling of powerlessness. So I'm going to tell you this because it's going to give you some ideas, especially if you know somebody or you yourself have 8 energy. There's going to be a lot of little things in here that are going to be discussed that most people aren't talking about. 8 in a young, when it's as it's developing, is learning how to manage or how to become powerful, but authentic power. This is the thing. In imbalance, the 8 will try to protect their vulnerability by being overly ambitious, overly obsessed, overly pursuing of power, money, position, like this, as a way to compensate. So in this case, it becomes a compensation, meaning that the power isn't with integrity. It's not real power. It is temporal power without the backing of the spiritual, without the backing of the integration. So let's back up and talk about the role of 8 in the sequence of numbers from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 like this. So we have 1 is the spark, the initiation, 2 the adapter and facilitator of the 1, 3 is the expression of that, the child. 4 squares it away and creates a container of experience. 5 networks and alchemizes it to create harmony, which is the 6, the bond, the bind, the family, the community, the country, the tribe, like this. Now 7 is the first time of transcendence, because when something becomes so coherent, that's the 6, it allows for transcendence to happen. And this is 7. Now I'm going to spend a little time on 7 because it's important to understanding 8. So what 7 does is it steps back from the system, it steps back from the creation, the structure, and it penetrates. It goes deep, deep down to understand, to stand underneath the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, to the unconscious. So 7's role is to go deep, deep down. That's why 7 is a number of truth, because 7 gets to the bottom of something. It gets to the truth of the matter. And ultimately, at the highest level, it's getting to the truth of who you are. Hence, 7 is the number of the mystic. But 7 has a hard time, the number, expressing themselves, articulating words. They're very aloof. They're kind of cut off from the world. It's the 8's job to merge the spiritual with the material. That's the 2 circles, which also is infinity signs. There's a lot of different things with this. It's also the full chakra system in full power. The culmination number. 8's the most powerful number. There's a lot of things we can talk about. We'll go into this video, so stick around. This is going to be a fun one. So what is the 8's job like this? Now, let's just imagine 7. Ketu is number 7 in Vedic astrology. Imagine the root chakra, because Ketu is definitely a root chakra number, because Ketu is the tail without the head. 8 is the hand that goes down to pull 7 back up from the bottom through the top. And as it's doing this, it's not just pulling it up randomly. It is integrating the truth of who they are, the understanding, into the totality of their being. One step at a time, one layer by layer by layer. 8 will not proceed until there's an integrity brought, and then it will go to the next level. It has to make sure it is authentic and integrated. Why? Because 8 creates things that stand the test of time. 8 is a number of eternity. 8s have the power to create things that stand the test of time. Like the pyramids, it comes to mind. People's names, people whose names have lasted forever. Alexander the Great. Great. 8. Great. You see how this works. So, but let's talk about that. How does it do that? The only thing that does not change is truth. The only fixed principle in the existence is truth. That which does not change is truth. Anything that's not established in truth will always self-correct, self-destruct until it comes back to the truth. Now you understand how 8 is working here. This is why 8 people are scared of 8. Why 8's associated with misfortune and obstacles and restriction. It's why you have to understand why it's doing this. What is the purpose? 8, where it seems like restriction, it's not restriction. It's because there is some sort of lesson that has to be mastered to go on to the next level. Because 8 builds things that are bulletproof. When 8's done with you, you attain mastery. 8 is the number of mastery. Some call it the master of ego. It's mastery in general. 8s create mastery by integrating all the understanding. It's the raising of the kundalini. Mastering the different chakras, the different lessons. And this is why 8's the are you sure? It's the doubt. It can be a doubt number as well. Because what happens is, it's one thing to have the knowledge, but you have to apply it. So let's say you change a belief system. 8's not going to stop there. To make it bulletproof and to make it integrated, 8 will give you circumstances to test you. Test you. For example, I was on the phone with my friend the other day, and we were talking about this. Is a really interesting scenario. I had a period of my life where I was attracting narcissists. People who are takers. And I was like, why am I attracting all these freaking narcissists, man? And my friend was having the same problem, and because I had already gone through that lesson, I was able to convey it to him, who was going through the same lesson at that moment. And what it is givers naturally will attract takers. And the lesson here is the givers have to manage their energy. They can't be giving away everything for free. There has to be some level of detachment. You can't be giving for the sake of exchange for something to happen out of that. It has to be a pure thing. That way it's disconnected. You're not attached to it. And we're going to talk about how that ties in with the number 8. Because 8, if you look in the inside of the 8, this is where Chaldean is beautiful. 8's not just about power and money. It is that thing, but what's inside the 8? What is it supposed to be rooting itself in? The internal structure of this number. Is it 88 6/16/7? 8 is awareness of cause and effect. 8 is the first number who gets the awareness of cause and effect. It's the karma. The karma is the law of cause and effect, the memory. So 8 wants to make sure that everything is good, that its actions are all good. So it creates itself in a bulletproof way that nothing can go wrong. That it can then the result of this is accumulation of power. That's why they say Saturn, who rules number 8 in Vedic astrology, can make you a king or a pauper, or like a peasant. How Saturn makes you a king is by making you bulletproof, by giving you real power, not fake power. Yeah, you have some money, but you're miserable. Yeah, you have some money, but you have no power over your own mind. You have no power over your own spirit. You're not aligned. So this is what happens is, there's a saying that, where I think it was Bhagavad Gita, I forget, there's a teacher who was saying this about, something about Krishna said if he wants to destroy somebody, he was paraphrasing, that he'll just give them money. And what he means is, somebody who's not in integrity, if Krishna gives them money, they will destroy themselves, because power is the greatest test. And I know somebody who's born 8th day who's learned this lesson as well. People who are born with power. But if they misuse it, it's all about using power wisely, so that you're aware of cause and effect. So let's go back to 88-16-7. What it's saying here is that their power is, their true power is when the 1 in the 16-7 here, this is the effect, when the 1 bows to the 6 to create the 7, meaning when the individual bows itself to service and responsibility, when the sacrifice of the individual needs to the service and responsibility creates detachment, the 7, and truth. So the true, no pun intended, power of the 8 is when they are established in truth, when they have detached understanding, when they're not serving personal needs, when they're doing so in a way that's responsible, based on service, based on creating coherence and harmony, not for their own protection of their vulnerability as a compensation. This is the 8. And there's so much that we can talk about this 8. Why 8 will if you do something bad, like if people are born in the 8th or the life path 8 or have 8 in prominent positions, do something bad, that comes back to them quickly. Because this is how 8's teaching them. That's not the only way 8 teaches, though. There's a couple ways. That's one thing, by showing them right away, boom, that's it. But also this "are you sure" thing, where you think, oh yeah, I've just conquered this lesson, and then you have these sort of circumstances that you don't naturally associate, but they're actually forcing you to integrate that, making you make that decision in real time with real people involved, and testing your integrity with that belief system, testing your belief. That's the 8 energy. That's why it's restrictive. It can be restrictive because 8's not going to just let you skip to the end. Because then if you do that, you're going to get power when you're not ready for it, and you're going to destroy yourself. That's the whole thing. 8 is teaching you about power. Real power is established in truth. If the power is not established in truth, authenticity, integrity, it will destroy you. That is the whole idea of 8, and 8 wants to prevent that from happening. So 8 will restrict you. It'll create obstacles. The obstacles it's creating is to teach you the lesson, to help you to integrate it. That's why 8s typically don't bloom until later in life, because in order for these lessons to be processed, it takes time to do that. It's not something typically you're going to do by the time you're an adolescent. 8 is the number of the elder. They're the elders. Why is 8 the elder? Because the elders are the ones who have the wisdom. They've gone through all the tests. They've conquered and mastered these things. Now they become the elder who can guide other people. That's the 8. So 8s as people can be they're the ones who are the real leaders, the CEOs, the people who know how to manage power correctly. They know how to administer themselves. These are the people who can rise to the pinnacle of the success in their field, the preeminent part. Because that's what 8 gives you, when you deserve it. This isn't anything, there's no games here. 8 is working off your integrity, your karma. So you may say, but I've just been suffering so long. It's because it's a memory. It's an echo from the past. It's a lesson from a previous life. Or if you don't like that, it's an echo from your ancestors, because in your DNA, you have the memory of ancestors on your mother's side and your father's side. Even modern science admits through epigenetics, they were carrying the memory, I think they say, at least 20-something generations. In the yogic tradition, the mystic tradition, it's much, much more than that. So there's a lot going on, but this is all to develop strength and perseverance. So 8 in the tarot is strength and perseverance. 8 requires strength and perseverance, because 8 will give you this test where, how bad do you really want it? Is it something that's neurotic? Or is it authentic? If it's authentic, even if something goes wrong, you'd still be willing to persevere, to see it through. You have the strength to go to the end with that. That's another test of the 8. Hence, 8 requires strength and perseverance, because that is how 8 works. So, let's wrap this up with really quickly with the inner part of the 8, because this is very important as well. 8 on the outside of the number, and the 16-7 as a 7. That's an 87-15/6, the emotional part of the 8. So simply put, just taking the 6-digit sum, the 8 feels really, really fulfilled when it is able to create harmony, when it is able to create healing, when it is of service to other people, when it is given responsibility. It makes the 8 feel so good. It also shows that in order for the 8 to stay balanced, here's the 15-6 now. We're expanding from the 6. Now we're going, now any kind of 6, it's a 15-6. 8s, in order to feel balanced and fulfilled, because 8s can be too serious. They can be because they're always thinking about all the angles. What could possibly happen? They're like the guy, like, have you ever seen Game of Thrones? That's like the hand. In the house, the new Game of Thrones, the first hand, that guy who's just, they're like Murphy's Law. Thinking of all the things that could go wrong, and they're the long-term thinkers. They're thinking 10 steps ahead of everyone else. They're projecting out to see what could possibly happen and making sure everything is squared away so that nothing bad can happen. That's like 8. So they can be very serious. They can be cold. They can be detached. But in order for 8 to feel fulfilled, they need to have this 15-6 energy, which is they need to initiate curiosity. They need to take initiative and assert when they're curious, when they want to have some sort of dynamicism and change. It's showing that they need to enjoy the pleasures of life as well. They need to mix that in. That's what's going to give them that fulfillment, that full activation of the 8. So it's one thing if they know how to manage power on the outside. It's one thing if they have that detachment where they've surrendered their ego and they're just kind of, how can I be of service? How can I make sure that I'm being responsible here and make sure this is perfect? Because 6 wants to make sure everything's perfect as well. If they spend too go, and if they remain in that space without balancing those two together, 8s are going to be very, very unhappy. They'll be miserable. So they need to enjoy the finer things in life, the pleasures. Involve themselves in a little drama, like watching a TV show or something that gets them to feel the emotion. It also shows that 8 really needs community. 8 will feel very, very good with community and family, somewhere where they can administer their power, somewhere they can take charge of and make sure everyone else is good and use their power for something else. So 8 really has this unique city power. Now, if you expand into the 8 and the 7, it's showing that when 8 cultivates their power, their 8, when they act on wisdom and understanding. That's what brings them that harmony and that coherence. They feel like they want to be of service and responsible. Because how can you not when you're established in truth? When you understand that we are all one and that by serving other people, you're really serving yourself. So this is a brief synopsis. There's so much more to unpack on it, and I'll probably end up doing another video on 8 down the road because I have a very prominent 8 in my chart. Let's say my life path is a version of 8. 8's a very, very, very important number, and that's why 8 is the number of mastery. 8's the number of power. 8 is, I don't want to reveal that because it's not mine to reveal, but 8 is the culmination number. If you look at like a movie, the pinnacle peak, the climax, that's 8. And then when they kind of wind the movie out and they kind of, they kiss, they get married and they kind of trail off into the sunset, that's more than 9. But the climax, the maximum power, that's the 8. And there's a lot of ways to explain this, which I'll have to make a different video about at some point, about cube dynamics and how you can use 8 to understand the cube. Why they're worshiping the cube in Mecca. Why the cube is everywhere. The square that you wear in graduation on your hat. All this, there's a special power in this that we can talk about in your video. If you're interested in that, leave a comment below. If you found this video useful, give it a like so other people can find it. If you want to have your own chart analyzed, your own success codes, what your purpose is, what's going to bring you the greatest fulfillment, how you're supposed to structure your mind, your emotions, and express yourself, and have relationships, we can do all that in your chart. So leave a comment below if you'd like to have a reading or analysis with me. If you'd like to see more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button. As always, wishing the best. Happy manifesting. God bless.